Hello and welcome to another episode of Movies That Make Us. I'm Jake.
I'm Tracy.
And I'm Val.
I was this close to not getting us added back into the video before the thing was over. The intro was over. Woo! I was playing and I just kind of sat there for a second and then I realized, oh yeah, there's something else I need to do here really fast. So
it's okay. You're on your producer game. This is good.
It's fine. We're only coming up on our 200th episode. Like, why should I have this down by now? Why should this be
but
routine?
This is still like we haven't done this the whole time. We started that like halfway.
That's
halfway
true.
It's a vast majority of the episodes. Actually, it was like around episode 50.
Sorry, I was trying to help you out.
No, I appreciate it, but
right.
No, it's quite a few that we've done this way now.
So, I started actually writing reviews again last week.
I saw that.
Yeah, I saw that. I read your Little Mermaid review.
It's part of my my therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I need to start doing the things that I enjoy, even if I don't enjoy them.
Okay.
And like I enjoy watching movies. I enjoy being a film critic, right? And in order to keep moving forward as a film critic, I need to like physically write my reviews, and I haven't done it in almost a year. And so last week I'm like, I'm going to write them. I'm not like, I still can't get like in depth with it, but sure. I'm like, I'll get it done. And then Little Mermaid was probably my longest in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then a whole bunch of people started visiting my website to read them. Like I had over 300 people visit yesterday because it's Memorial Weekend and one of the most controversial movies of the year is opening. And then I started getting the "you're too nice on movie" comments. I'm too nice to movies. So I just thought I'd put it out there here.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't noticed, we are not dicks. We like movies. We like to talk about the things that we like about movies. Mm-hmm. I am also pretty much that way when I am on my own talking about movies.
Yes.
So I'm going to do a little video because I realized on my YouTube channel and on my website, I don't have like an intro of like who I am and how I rate things and like that kind of thing. Like if you're coming to my page because you want something to be ripped apart.
Sarcastic.
I mean, I'm still a little sarcastic.
Sure. But there's like a whole group of reviewers whose like ultimate goal is to come up with the zinger.
Yeah. You know? I mean, like I gave About My Father, which is not a horrible movie, but is totally getting panned by other critics right now because it's just not original.
Right.
And it's kind of out of its time. Like it feels like Meet the Fockers and it should have been made at the same time.
That was
Meet
my
the Fockers.
feeling.
But I gave it a B- instead of a C+ because I really enjoyed the way that they emphasized the Italian. I'm Italian. I miss my Italian family. And so me watching that and them really utilizing the hands when they're supposed to and the Goombas and the bada bait, like that for me was enjoyable. So it upped the grade a little. If you don't like how I grade it, you can. There are a million other reviewers. I like that you stopped in. But
and we've talked about this before. I think the key to a critic or a reviewer is finding someone that kind of enjoys what you enjoy and matches your personality. And if we're not it, that's totally fine. Like we're okay with that. There are a lot of people that are going to tear down the stuff and be super, super critical of everything.
Yeah.
And that's not really us or our jam. And it's definitely not yours, Val. And I appreciate
my biggest thing
takes.
is what I want to know as a person is who's the audience that the movie was made for?
Yeah.
And should I go spend my money and time at the theater or should I wait and stream it? So that's what I do for others is like, there was 3 movies that opened this weekend and they're for 3 different audiences. Like what About My Father is really for people 40 to 80 because I'm going to probably enjoy it more because of the older people the more mature people in my life. And I'm going to go see it with the more like fathers, uncles, mothers, sisters, whatever, because it's more for them. And then the A24 movie with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, You Hurt My Feelings, that's totally me. Like that movie was written for me. It was written for you, Tracy. Like it's all about that, right? And then The Little Mermaid is for people who have kids or like diehard Disney people that are going to see everything no matter what. So let's give them the information on what maybe the feeling is for it so they can make the decision to go see it opening weekend or then wait a little bit. Because people are going to go see a movie no matter what, except for there's like a 3% of people that only listen to the rhetoric and they're not going to go see it because it's so woke. I had those comments on my Facebook page too. And I'm like, how about you go make a decision on your own? I know you're just going to read my review, but if you really want to see Fast X, Fast 10, like you're going to go see it because you're a fan, but you're reading my review to kind of see like, well, can I wait till $5 Tuesday or do I need to see it right now? Like, I feel like that's what I'm supposed to help you with.
Yeah. Jake and I, we talked about it during the Little Mermaid screening and we were like, before it even started, we were like, okay, this movie's not for us.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't made for us. We're not the target audience, but we still enjoyed it. But as Jake, you mentioned, it was like, there was a friend of mine who came, who brought his little daughter. She enjoyed the heck out of it. And then Jake said it's for her and it's for his daughter who grew up on the original, who's now seeing a teenage version because she's aged up a little bit in this version.
And we're going to get into that for sure.
Yeah,
we are.
Absolutely.
We are. For those of you that have been waiting for a new Patreon episode to sign up for our Patreon, this is it. This is your chance to go sign up. Because we will be dropping next week The Little Mermaid on our Patreon channel. And
I do have to say, like, if you've been wanting an opinion out of me, because that's what a couple of people said, you don't necessarily have an opinion. I do. And I have an opinion about this movie, a few of them. But The Little Mermaid, I have a few opinions, good and bad, about The Little Mermaid that I'm going to be, like, some of them are totally movie-based. Some are culture based, some are my own personal things, but I feel like just because we're not yelling and screaming it doesn't mean it's not an opinion.
Right.
But how can we be passionate about it if we're not yelling and screaming it and tearing apart people who disagree with us? Is it a valid opinion? I don't know.
You don't know nothing. You shut up.
You're wrong.
We can't even pretend to be jerks very well. We're not good at it at all, guys.
Did you guys see two quick things? Did you see the new trailer for the Barbie movie?
Yes.
Okay, the very end tag where he's like, I need to talk to a doctor. And she's like, you're talking to a doctor. He's like, no, a male doctor.
Yeah.
That killed me.
She's like, you can't do surgery. But I'm a man.
Yeah.
I never thought I would say this, but I am so excited to see the Barbie movie. Like, it looks so good.
Greta is how she takes things that you think you're not going to love. Greta Gerwig.
Yeah.
How she takes things that you think you're not going to like and then makes you like them. Like makes you like them she is a fantastic filmmaker.
Oh. And then, so they were filming Fast X right next to the Barbie set. So a bunch of the Fast X people went over and were like hanging out all the time on the Barbie set. And they were
like the biker Barbies.
They were just like, this is so cool. They were like, the sets were just really in really well built, really exciting. And so Margot Robbie was like, why aren't you in this movie to John Cena? He's like, I should be in this movie. She's like, okay, let's do it. And so he got cast as a merman. He'll be a merm person.
Of course.
In the Barbie movie.
Maybe he can be on that new Netflix series, Mer People.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
And then really quick, I saw a movie I recommended to Val. Jake, this is not your jam, but for those who watched Fast X, there's a really good movie out streaming right now called Sisu. It's English, but it's a Finnish movie, but it's not subtitled. About a gold miner in Finland. And I didn't realize this, I guess, and it makes sense. I just never learned this part of history, but in World War II, the Nazis were there And Finland was actually like working with the Nazis for a while, and then Russia, invaded, and so they were just like, we're done with all of you, and we're working to try and kick the Nazis out. And this Finnish gold miner finds a gold streak, and the Nazis come across him and take his gold and try and kill him, and he ends up being
John Wicks him.
He's a John Wickser. He's a former special ops military guy who had retired, who takes out a bunch of the Nazis and gets his gold. And I thought it was going to be like one of those B movies, and it is kind of a B movie, but it's really well done. It's well written. It's beautifully shot. It's probably my favorite visually stunning movie so far this year.
Nice.
Just some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful shots. But it is very violent. If killing Nazis is your jam, that's a movie for you to check out. Sisu.
I'm just gonna throw this out there. Killing Nazis should be everybody's jam, by the way. Like,
says the non-violent movie.
But killing Nazis in very creative, unique ways.
Yeah. In the trailer.
I feel like if you like, that should be one of the least controversial statements ever. Is like,
I know.
I'm pro killing Nazis. Like they're the worst.
Indiana Jones, he punches Nazis, right? There's some shooting, but this is like
at least like punching a Nazi.
This is knife through the throat kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah. This is landmines blowing people up, but
it's brutal.
But it's really well done. It was like a really well made movie. I was very excited about that one. So check
it is on my list. I've had a week of screenings, and I have a few more, including Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
So jealous.
I get to see tomorrow night. I'm sure we're going to be doing a public screening of that as well. So stay tuned.
Get your tickets.
Yeah. And there's a whole bunch of like horror films coming up, Tracy. So if you want to take those on, I'm not going. I'm giving away tickets right now on What to See with Val for
The Boogeyman.
The Boogeyman. No.
Mm-hmm. Stephen King. Yeah.
Yeah. Insidious is coming. A new Insidious movie is coming out. No. No. Like all the month of October, you just need to review movies for me.
Yeah. So otherwise, you're going to be in Moana on repeat 24/7.
Yeah. I have to get something stronger than Moana. I lately, like the things that usually scrub my brain, they're not working out. I need to get a little heavier.
You're getting the.
I don't know what's happening right now.
I need a heavier movie scrub.
Guys, we are just like half a year away from running 10K in Disneyland together. We are raising funds to fight against cancer. We are raising funds to help research against cancer. And we are raising funds to help individuals with cancer get to the appointments that they need to get to and the things that they need to make it through their battle. We are raising funds for the American Cancer Society. We will post a link on all of our episodes that going forward where you can go and donate. We're raising money as a team. And we're meeting next week to come up with some cool ideas and ways that we're going to do some fundraisers. I don't know, next week, sometime soon. We're meeting soon. And we'll have some exciting things to announce. But in the meantime, anything that you can do to support us, we really appreciate. We've got to, $5 helps us get there. We've got to get our halfway point by August, right?
Sometime in August, yeah.
Yep. So we want to get there, and we're on our way. We're gonna make it. But yeah, we just want to make you aware of that. It's a huge, great cause, and we are excited to do some fun stuff in Disneyland while we're running the 10K and doing other things. So fun stuff coming up. We want to make you aware of it, and it's a good cause. I mean, everybody I think has been affected by cancer at some point or another. So. All right. And from that, we'll transition right into Fast X, because I don't know a good smooth transition from fighting cancer into Fast X. We are running as a family.
Cancer. And this movie is all about fighting together against Jason Momoa.
As a family.
Who is
I want to see how many times
angry
we can family through this episode.
Yeah, he's upset because Dom took his family. Spoilers, sorry. Spoilers in this episode, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it yet, go see it. Or maybe you want to listen because you want to get some inside stuff before you go see it. Either way, there's going to be spoilers.
Val's got trivia for you. Val's just because Jake and we're not the Fast X fan people. Like we've seen a couple. I've seen one, and I think Hobbs and Shaw, and I think that was it. So me going into 10, this is like when I went and started at Fan X, we talked about Doctor Who, and I had been a fan for like a month. So people were like, okay. But
yeah, I've been recently inundated with people like asking me like to rank the movies, the Fast movies, and I'm like, I really need to do that, but it's been a while since I've seen some of them, so I am going to be on a journey this next week as I'm traveling. I'm just going to watch all of the Fast movies, and then hopefully by the end of next week I will have a post up on both of our websites, how I rank each movie. But if you go to whattoseewithval.com and you look at my Fast X review, there is some trivia at the end. There's some, so you could like read that and then go and be like that person at your next get together where you like know some fun tidbits of things.
Yeah. Well, I've heard Fast 5 is kind of like the crown jewel almost, which makes sense because a lot of this movie has a lot of Fast 5 in it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's because it's after Fast 5, it started turning the gamut of being more than just a car and car racing and against the man, being like
it became more of a
they crossed the line into now they are heroes. We looked up to them before, but they were it was inner group stuff.
Yeah,
and
this
now
is like the Avengers.
Yeah, now it turns into more worldly, which I don't mind any of it. I am here for all of it. But if you are like a realist, if you are one of those people that's like a Star Wars fan that says it needs to be canon, it needs to stay to the origin story, guess what? It's over how many years that this movie has been going on? Changes happen.
When you said realist, I was really confused for a second, but you clarified, so I'm okay, because I was like, there is nothing realistic in this movie at all.
I just want to appreciate that you said if you're a realist, like a Star Wars fan, like somehow like they're better grips with reality.
No, that's what I'm saying. If you're getting into that realm where it's not canon, so I must hate it, like step away, take a step back for a minute, take some deep breaths and say, it's all for fun. It is all pretend. What I loved, and I'm going to start out with what I loved about this movie right off the bat, is I think a lot of us, I don't know what's going on this time of year, but there's a lot of us just having some issues, right? Some mental health. Like there's a lot of people that are down. There's just a lot of stuff going around and going on and whatever. But I had been having just a really hard time. And I went into this movie and I escaped. And that's why I love movies. Movies originally are about escapism. It is about leaving what you can't handle at the door, going and sitting in a theater for 1.5 to 3.5 hours, depending on what you're seeing, and laughing and crying and totally forgetting everything that your real life is dealing with. And that's what happened here. I not at one point as I was watching this movie thought about anything other than this movie, and I laughed out loud and I had a good time. And when the movie was over and the lights came up, I felt better. That is the whole reason I love movies.
Yeah. So at the screening, I brought my father, and my dad's not a big movie guy. And so I sometimes struggle to find.
But he's a huge Fast and the Furious fan.
Huge Fast and Furious fan. He's watched all of them. None. He had not seen any of them. Had no clue. I had only seen one in Hobbs and Shaw. So I told him beforehand, because I struggle finding movies for him sometimes, because it's like he doesn't really like really heavy, intricate plot lines. He gets confused as to what's happening, and then he asks me, what's going on? Who is this? and stuff like that. And so, but I was like, okay, I took him to the Adam Driver movie, that 65, because I'm like, there's spaceships and laser guns and dinosaurs, and that's pretty much all you need to know. And so I told him going into this, I'm like, now I don't know who any of these people are. I don't know what their relationships are. I don't know what their backstories are. We're going to watch some cars do really cool stunts and blow stuff up. And the whole movie, he was just like, I looked over and he looked like a little kid, just grinning ear to ear. And then when it was over, he goes, that's the most fun I've had in a long time. Yeah. And he's like, I didn't really understand it, but I was entertained. And I'm like, I'm right exactly in the same boat as you.
Yeah, it was definitely entertaining. I was laughing. Sitting next to Tracy definitely helps in that department. Although I think there were parts where Tracy and I may have been laughing and we weren't really supposed to be laughing. Like, but it was okay. I think we. But
the other part that killed me, Jake, is there was this lady sitting behind us who was really into the movie. She had the Fast X shirt, or, the Fast and Furious type shirt, very into it. And when they had some cameos, I was like, oh, okay, cool. And she was like, oh my gosh. She was like, legit freaking out, because I guess some of these people have come back from the dead and I had no clue. I'm just like, oh, okay. But she was so excited.
Yeah, it was that was the other fun thing, is there is such a huge following for these movies. And so for us to be at a screening where people were trying to win tickets to come and see this movie, and they got to be there early, and Val, you did some trivia, and just to see how many people were excited to answer the questions, and there's a lot of passion around that. And that's just fun to experience something like this with that kind of a group, even if it's not something that you're way into, to experience with people who are, just heightens that experience. And then for me, the biggest highlight was Jason Momoa. And I know we need to get 100%. Into his performance, but he was so good in this movie.
I don't know that I would have enjoyed the movie nearly as much if it had not been for him. Like, I still would have enjoyed it, but he took it to a whole nother level.
And I didn't love it at first. Like when his character was first introduced, and what I did like about this, like bringing this all together, it's kind of like the end game of Fast X, right? Before they move into this next
phase.
But they bring in a past storyline, so you get to see Paul Walker again, which I just thought was so smart and so good, because you get to see where it started, right? And you already know this villain, and you know kind of what happened, what's going on, if you had seen it before. And then you bring in this other aspect of it, which is Jason Momoa, which we didn't see originally, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
they
so
kind of retconned him into this, right?
What?
They kind of retconned his character into this.
Yeah. So
he was there all along. You just didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. Which I love, because it brings a little bit more depth to a story that you already know if you've seen it. And if you haven't, I feel like now you know just as much as everyone else, because they're retelling the story a little bit for you. Because like Dave, my husband, he's seen bits and pieces of the movies, but not a full one. And he enjoyed it as much as I did, right? And so I think you can go into this movie and not have seen any of them and still enjoy it, like your dad did, and like you did. So
and it's interesting too, because oftentimes when you try and retcon something, it comes off as cheap or stupid. And at least to the people that I've read reviews of and talked to, like everybody was okay with it. Because sometimes you're like, oh, come on, if that was the case, you should have laid the Easter egg 5 movies ago. But nobody cast Jason Momoa back then, so it wasn't easy to do.
Yeah. So for me, it worked. But when we originally met his character, I wasn't buying it. I wasn't buying like him standing.
He's almost in a different movie at times.
Yeah, I was just like, he's not like. I don't know if it's like he came when we originally met Jason Momoa. It's from Game of Thrones, where he was just this big masculine,
monster of a man,
and he was this mysterious, deep, dark. That's the only time I have ever thought that was a good idea for him. Like any other time, he has tried to be like this mean, I don't buy it, because he isn't.
He's
He
so
is
effective.
so much fun.
And
he is, and so I'm just like, when they introduced his character and he's trying to be this machismo like guy and he's like doing the looks, I was like, this is a parody. Like this, I'm not buying it. They're making fun of like, you know, how some of the other characters can totally deadpan that. I just wasn't buying it from the character. And then as we move into his character and realize that wasn't him, he was trying to be that for his dad, and now he is totally who he is. Which is also kind of a clown, right? But he does it in such a way that you're like, okay, he's not taking it seriously, but we love it. You know what I mean? Like he wore I feel like he wore his own wardrobe onto set. Like we talked about it in the past that his nail polish was going to match his car. And then I said, and his scrunchie, and not only one scrunchie, but two
scrunchies.
Yeah.
And then he drops the line in the movie where he pulls up and he puts his hand out on the side of the car. And it's this kind of lavender purple color. And he's like, yep, carpet matches the drapes. And I just lost it.
He is very much what I like about Fast and Furious and the franchise is as they have grown into themselves as a franchise, their characters are very much a piece of the actor that plays them.
That's the feeling.
Vin Diesel is totally Dom, and Dom is Vin Diesel. They have melded together, and sometimes that's not a great thing, but in this case, I love it. If you know, a lot of the characters are that way. And so when you bring in John Cena and you bring in Jason Momoa and you bring in some of these other people who are not, Kurt Russell's been there for a long time.
But that's what I'm saying. Like the names of the people who have been in these films is incredible.
Yeah. I mean, Kurt Russell is very much an actor. He's not but I'm saying like the characters that have melded in. The characters who have melded in that's half them, half their character is very fun for me because I'm a huge fan of Tyrese. I'm a huge fan of, you know, these characters. Michelle Rodriguez is a badass.
She's great. Yeah.
And
she doesn't have a lot of range, but what she's good at, she does really, really, really well.
I do think so. I'll have to share this on our Facebook page, but she made a comment that she thinks that all of the Marvel movies are getting to be too much. There's too many superhero movies. I'm like, this movie is a Marvel movie. I'm watching this 100%. Movie. You have superhero landings. You have freaking comments and shot for shots of my Marvel movies.
Okay, when you have a bomb that is the size of the one from The Dark Knight Rises rolling down the streets of Rome on fire,
like an Indiana Jones movie.
Yes, it's like the boulder from Indiana Jones. Yeah,
all I thought was, okay, now we're in Indiana Jones. Yeah,
and it's an explosive and it's rolling downhill heading to the Vatican. I mean, yeah, Michelle Rodriguez, I'm sorry to say, you are in a Marvel movie.
Yeah, you are in a superhero movie at this point, Michelle Rodriguez.
This is not an Academy Award-winning film by any stretch of the imagination.
But Momoa, I thought it was funny, though, because when we sat down in the theater at first, Jake is like, I think they're going to blow up the Vatican. And he's just like...
Not that Jake condones blowing up the Vatican. Let's just make sure.
But it's so ridiculous that they would do something like that.
Yeah. You're muted.
We can't hear you, Jake. You're muted, I think.
One of my favorite movies of all time, guilty pleasure type movies, is National Treasure. We've talked about it before. Yes. I love that movie. It's fantastic. And one of the reasons why is because the whole premise of the movie is we're going to steal the Declaration of Independence. I love this over the top kind of like crime that nobody would ever really do in this kind of nonsensical way. And so the fact that he was like, oh, we're going to blow up the Vatican. Oh, you guys are naughty. I'm like, I'm in just for that because that's ridiculous and over the top.
Well, and I love it because there were so many points. Like when they lower themselves into like the under the street situation, I leaned over to Dave and I'm like, should we steal the Declaration of Independence? Because it's very much when all of the guys come into the museum at the and so you've got Indiana Jones, you've got National Treasure, you've got 4 different Marvel movies like mixed in here. You've got Die Hard elements. This is an action suspense movie, like just gumbo of things.
Yeah.
And
go ahead, Tracy. Sorry.
I was just going to say, oftentimes we will laugh about how the hero can't take that many body shots. Like, there's no way he would have survived all those hits. That's how I felt about these poor cars. Like, this car, especially in the Rome sequence, is driving downstairs. It's slamming into the bomb. It is getting hit into the walls, and it's still driving. And I love it that he pulls up in front, and Jake and I both, I think this is one of the parts that we laughed where nobody else was, is when they drive in front of the bomb that has been rolling nonstop for about 10 minutes towards the Vatican, and they get in front, and this poor car is so beat up, and it pushes on the brakes and comes to a stop.
Yep.
With no sparks.
Yeah. Like, no problem.
Mine was with Dom and his son coming down with the flames behind him, and that
that kid
was
the best. People. That kid is a killer. John Cena, you were a bad role model.
John Cena is the best role model.
I love John Cena's character in this, and I also love that in the sequence where he comes to rescue the kid, and then the house gets invaded by the SWAT team, basically. I love that they throw in his signature move, the attitude adjustment from his wrestling days, and I thought that was really cool. And
not only does he do it, but he goes through the ceiling, like he takes it to the second floor.
And that's about how effective it was in wrestling too. Every time, it like nobody got out from the attitude adjustment when John Cena did it. So
Jake leaned over to me and was like giddy. He was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah, I think half the audience, even I've never seen it.
I didn't know.
Get it? I've never seen it, but I knew what it was, and so I was so excited. We were all like, "Oh!" Like it was so fun. Again, it's that meshing of characters.
Don't wait to see this on streaming. This is one. Go see it in a theater, and don't go see it on a Sunday morning at 10 o'clock in the morning. Go on a Friday night, get as many people together as you can, because that's half the fun of this type of movie.
Even a Tuesday night, $5 Tuesday night. Let's see it on Tuesday.
The collective. Whoa!
Go see it. Go see it in the theater, and go see it soon in the theater so you can experience it with other people.
Yeah.
It loses. I think this is one of those that I don't know that I'm going to watch it when it comes out on streaming, because I don't know that I'm going to enjoy it as much as I did watching it in the group.
I want to go see it again in the theater, right now.
On this is going to lessen a lot of the enjoyment.
So I had to step away for a minute, and I'm sorry about that. But did we talk about Jason Momoa
just a little bit?
We kind of sidetracked so we talked about the meshing of how the actors like Jason Momoa and his character are very much like half and half, and Dom and Vin Diesel are very much like half of each other.
We just nibbled.
We nibbled.
We didn't go Jason Momoa chew the scenery and devour everything on screen. We just nibbled at the edges waiting for you.
And he did, and it reminded me a lot. So the news came out this week that Seth Rollins, who's a wrestler in WWE currently, is going to be in the Marvel movies, and it looks like he's going to be in the new Captain America. He looks like he's going to be a villain of some sort. But I'm telling you that if you watch his current gimmick, his current character that he does in WWE, and if Jason Momoa didn't watch that for his inspiration for his villain, like it was right down to the ridiculous outfits, because Momoa's got some great outfits in this movie.
Silk.
I think he kept all of the clothing after.
Oh, would not surprise me. Yeah.
I hope so. I mean, that was great. The genie outfit alone was
the minute he came, we were all like, the genie, like everyone in the theater was like,
he's in Cuba. Or no, he was.
It was Rio. Yeah, Rio de Janeiro.
Where all the genies hang out.
It was Rio. Yeah. Absolutely. Why not?
I thought that was another part of the world, but maybe it's Brazil. I could be wrong.
You're on the beach. You got the Rio. You got the festival going on. I mean, come on.
Well, let's talk about that scene for a minute because and I know this might not be like very feminist of me to say, but one of the fun things about the original movies is that there was always a scene in there that was like a hip hop music video. Because when you think about car racing, like car racing from the 90s, right?
Yeah.
And early 2000s it's a culture. There's a culture around it. And it's this hip hop culture of hip hop music videos. And this is the how I grew up as a kid. And so it was women who wore whatever they wanted and they liked their bodies. And some people thinks it's sexist because you have these women in these scantily clad clothes. They like them. If my body looked like that, I got to tell you, even at 43, I would be in that outfit right now. And I would be in Rio, right? Like there are some of us that as women, it empowers us to wear those clothing and to listen to that music and to be dancing. And so I really loved when they got to Rio because they recreated some of the shots from the original movies when they pull up to the racing, and it's basically a club outside. It's this culture, and they have the shots that come up from the ground, and you see these bright colored outfits, and everybody's dancing, and
all the cars are,
and all of the cars come in, and it is a way of life.
Yeah.
It is a way of life that I wish I was that cool. I have never been invited to that, right? But even when I was younger and this movie, the first one came out, I was like, where is this happening?
Jake,
in Utah somewhere, there's got to be something cool. No,
Jake,
I mean, maybe.
How did we never invite Val to one of these? I mean,
Tracy and I do this every week.
Yeah, I can't believe we overlooked Val.
I know now. Like I have friends that are in car groups, that are in motorcycle groups, and you can kind of, but like this is a culture. This isn't somebody deciding that this is what it should look like. This is how it is in LA. This is how it is or was in all. And so for me, it gave me nostalgia. I was so happy that they went back to their roots a lot in this movie and in Rio. And then people knew who each other were because in those tight knit groups, they do. Regardless of where in the world you are, if there is a group of things that you like, whether it be cars, nerdy things, computer festivals, whatever, like who the top people are.
And computer people.
I don't know. There are people that love computer keyboards, right? And they nerd out about it, and they know who the top people are.
That's the Italian in Val, the computer people.
If I do it down here where my computer is, you're not going to see it. So I got to give you the thing. Anyway, what I'm saying is I loved how they brought in the kind of some of the original feel of where this story originated from. And so for me, it was great. But now like shooting it, I'm like, oh, they're going to get a little flack because they're doing shots of women and outfits and blah, 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 blah. No, those women chose to wear those outfits.
Yeah.
I mean, in this movie, they put clothes on them. But like if they were really in Rio and that would be this, it's not that far fetched.
Right.
Speaking of Rio, one of my all-time favorite lines from any movie ever spoken by a main character happens when they're in Rio. Listen, Dom is so over the top with his the way Vin Diesel delivers these amazing lines that the writers have put in front of him. It is. But when they wake up in her apartment and he's sitting there just staring at the pictures of her sister that was apparently in another sequel to the movie,
his baby mama.
Oh, is it his baby mama?
Baby mama.
Okay. I did not know that connection. So maybe that makes the next line.
That's why she said my nephew.
Okay.
In the movie. So that's
but mama. I just don't know. I don't know what the family, if it's family or,
Yeah.
We needed a genealogy chart for this movie, didn't we?
Or just go watch the rest of the movies.
Yeah, we could do that.
At least see 9 before you see 10.
But he didn't know that she was her sister, but he did know. And she said, "Oh, you knew all along." And he said, "Yeah, just like her, you smile with your eyes and lead with your heart," or something like that. Smile with your eyes and lead with your heart, or I mean,
have you never smiled with your eyes? It's called smizing.
Thanks to Tyra Banks.
But in the moment, the way he said, just like her.
Very few actors could deliver that line and get a. Nicolas Cage could.
Oh, there's some big news with Nicolas Cage. We'll talk about it offline because we don't want to spoil anything for people. But there's some big news with Nicolas Cage.
I wish I hadn't, but I did. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I've seen it, so I'm going to ruin it for you guys. No, I don't. You guys, if you guys go and look it up online, you'll find it. Yeah. But
don't spoil it for yourself. I wish I hadn't. I was inadvertently spoiled, but yeah.
Okay.
But anyway,
but yeah,
the Dom delivery.
Yeah, he's great. And when he's talking to his grandma as well, or his mom, like, just so much. Vin Diesel is a gift. All right. I don't think we appreciate.
Thank you.
Like,
thank you.
We need someone who looks as tough and gruff as he does, but is willing to be as soft as Dom needs to be at times to be that loving leader of this family.
That voice, man, that's just so unmistakable. And yeah, I'm like, wow, I wish I had a voice like that because I am like the opposite of Vin Diesel's voice. Yeah.
No, that honestly, truly, like, there is a lot about this movie that is so ridiculous. And I get it. But I really enjoyed it. After the movie, I came out and I was like, yeah, that was fun. I had a good time at the movie. And at the end of the day, if I go to a movie and I'm entertained from start to finish, that movie has done its job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Period.
There were and there was no point in this movie where I was like, okay, we're starting to drag a little bit. Like, it's just non-stop. Like Little Mermaid,
except for drag racing.
There were parts in Little Mermaid where I was like, okay, let's pick this up again.
Yeah.
I didn't feel that here. And speaking of ridiculousness,
totally movies, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a weird comparison.
But I'm just saying there was no point where I was like, okay, we can drop this scene. We don't need this.
There were parts in Little Mermaid that I thought, what this really needs is a bomb that's rolling down the road
had a racing
on fire.
And they had a couple of explosions, and there was some racing. But we'll get into that.
Yeah. But one of my favorite ridiculous scenes is when you've got Michelle Rodriguez and she's trying to escape from the prison with
Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron. And she says, I've rerouted the poison or the knockout gas. So the guards are knocked out. We've got 5 minutes to escape. And Michelle Rodriguez says, I only need 4. And then they break out into this massive fight with each other. And I'm like, it was just so great. And then they get back together and then they just try and go escape again. And it
was like, what are you doing? Knock it off.
But that moment,
okay,
I love that all three of us in that moment when they're strapped down on the table, all three of us thought face off. That they were going to do a face-off moment.
I turned. I'm like, are they going to take their faces
we
off?
All
did. So there you go. National Treasure, Face Off, Indiana Jones, several Marvel movies.
Indiana Jones. James Bond. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we've got to grade it. And I just feel like this is such a hard movie to grade. And I'll kick it off and like, there is a lot in this movie that shouldn't work. But it does,
and that's why it should get a good grade, because they make it work.
I wasn't going to give it a bad grade. I was going to give it a B. That's not a bad grade, but like, I have to recognize that some of it is just too much, but it's not. At the same time, I was entertained. I really enjoyed it. This was a positive movie going experience. I would definitely recommend it. If you're into action movies, if you want a good afternoon or evening out where you're just having a good time, Fast X is a great choice. I'm giving it a B.
I'm going to go A- on this. And the only reason the only reason I'm not going an A is because I didn't understand a lot of what was happening. But this is not in terms of like, but the movie, even the movie making was good. The editing was really tight. The cinematography was really well done. The acting was just over the top, but that's okay because everybody in this except for Vin Diesel was over the top.
No, that is Vin Diesel over the top. That's Vin Diesel being over the top.
That's true. That's true. This was Momoa. He steals the show. He entertained the heck out of me. And I was grinning from ear to ear. And I think I'm going to base this more on the experience and being there in the theater with all these people loving this and the fact that it entertained me. And that's one of the big things with me when I'm talking movie reviews is, yeah, I can break down the cinematography and we can talk about the music and we can talk about the editing. But at the end of the day, did you tell me a story that I enjoyed spending time being a part of? And I enjoyed the heck out of this. It's like Val said, it's like all these things that I love put into a blender and they gave it to me as a smoothie. And I was completely okay with all the flavors that they mixed in there. And I enjoyed myself. It's not a gourmet meal. It's not 5-star dining, but it's a greasy burger joint. And I had a great time. So yeah, I'm going to go A- on this one.
And I'm going to keep the food references going because I am the type of person that when I go to an Italian restaurant and they're like, do you want some Parmesan cheese on that? And they're like, tell me when. And somebody's like, isn't that too much? And I'm like, keep going. Keep going until the pile on top is ridiculous. And the person delivering the pile is like, that is the most I've ever done before. That is this movie.
That's how much
it is the most they've ever done before.
Yep.
Is that enough cheese? No, it is not. Bring more on. Like, this to me was so entertaining. I will watch it again and again. And I think like the casting was so great. Like every little intricate person that they cast in this movie fit well, did well, and they delivered what they needed to give us. And that was a good action movie. And it's hard to give us a good action movie with good pacing, good editing, good cinematography, good acting, good writing, because even the ridiculousness of the story, the writing made sense.
It's hard to make it ridiculous and be entertaining.
Yeah, and not make you feel like you're in a parody.
Exactly.
Okay? So for me, you already know it's an A for me. I'm going to watch it again. This was one of my favorites in the Fast and Furious franchise. And so I'm pretty sure this one will be in the top 5 for me.
I did not know this until we watched it, but evidently this is a 2-parter.
This is the first of a trilogy.
It was originally going to be a double, a 2-parter, but now it's looking like a trilogy.
They're making it into a trilogy. So if you haven't seen anything before and you start with this movie, you can start with it and then the storyline will move on. There's also another Hobbs and Shaw coming out. So I would recommend, honestly, if you don't want to go all the way back, you could start at 5.
That's what
work your way up. But you could also actually start at 8 and then put Hobbs and Shaw in there where it goes. So go 8, 9, Hobbs and Shaw, this movie. And I think you'll be all right. And they kind of all have that same momentum and you'll meet enough of the characters where things will make sense for you. But honestly, even if this is just where you started, I think you're going to be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And Dwayne Johnson, after his failed coup at WB, is coming back to the franchise. I think
he was already going to be back, but he just can't be on the screen with
Vin Diesel
because they have a beef that they haven't been able to figure it out. And I'm like, listen, I know in families that we have beefs
because the Fast X 2 is going to be more on the Rock's character, but I get the feeling like Fast X 3 is going to be them coming back together.
Yeah, they just may not. If they haven't fixed their beef by them, they just may not be on screen ever. They might be
green screen each other in. No, they'll just won't be on set together, but they'll green screen them in because you've got to. Yeah.
I mean, or just cut their scenes at different.
I love this is like a Kiss tour. We're on our final tour. We're on our final tour again. We're on our final tour one more time. This is the last final tour we're going to do. And that's kind of how I feel.
But if they keep bringing it, like, who cares?
I gave it an A-.
It's when we've seen the movie and we're like, they should have finished 3 movies ago.
When the big rock concert that's now being held at the bar and you're like, wow, you used to sell out arenas and now you're at a bowling alley. Hang it up, let it go. But that's not the case here. Yeah, they're still doing the big arenas.
All right. Well, there you go. Fast X. I'm not changing my grade. I'm standing where I'm at. But
that's what's so great is that you don't have to.
Yeah, I hope that everybody knows I enjoyed it. And maybe I'll go back and watch Fast 8.
Val and I are not real critics because we're not being critical. Jake's being a little more critical, so he's...
It's just his experience.
Okay. you guys go check it out in the theaters. Let us know what your thoughts are on Fast X. Let us know in the comments of the video what your favorite Fast franchise movie is in the whole franchise. And when we asked that question in the trivia thing, it seemed like there was a lot of love for Tokyo Drift. A lot of people seem to like that one.
There is a huge following for Tokyo Drift. If you haven't seen it, for me, Tokyo Drift, it leaves the franchise a little bit. It kind of steps. It's the first time it steps out of what the original flow of the Fast and Furious was. But the cool thing about Tokyo Drift is it brings you the same idea from a different culture. But it also, to me, why I love Tokyo Drift so much, and maybe we should talk about it sometime.
Yeah, we could
see it and talk about it. Is it reminds me so much of, I used to be a gamer. I used to play video games when I was younger, and they were usually car racing games. I don't know why, but I was into like Gran Turismo and like all of those things. And so when the Fast movies first came out, I was like, yeah, because I can't fix a car, but I think cars are cool. And I can't really drive stick unless we had to really get someone to the hospital. But like, I like to watch people. I love car movies. And what Tokyo Drift brings into it is kind of that feel, that Gran Turismo within the culture and the drift and the storyline, and the director is so great and the writing is so great. So yeah, if you haven't seen Tokyo Drift, definitely.
All right. Well, there you go. Fast X, go check it out. We enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. And remember to go subscribe to our Patreon and make sure you donate if you can. Even $5 helps in our fight against cancer. We appreciate the support there. We really do. And until next time, we may not see you at the movies, but if you come Saturday night, starting at midnight, to the Bonneville Salt Flats, Tracy and I are out there hosting some races. Come check it out.
I was like, what? What's happening without me?
Come check it out.
It's an outdoor club.
Yeah.
The music is thumping.
It's off the hook.
It's lit.
There's going to be one person that ends up out there, so make sure that's a lie.
Please don't go out there. We will not be there.
Bed Saturday nights at midnight.
Saturday night, midnight. That is not when my night starts. That is, I've been up too late. What am I doing awake right now? I have got to go to sleep.
That was really good. Like, that was good, Jake.
I knew where he was going. I figured out where he was going, but see Val's reaction. That was great.
All right. Thank you guys so much for your support. We'll see you later.
Family.
This has been an Age of Geek media production.